Welcome to Studying Law Around the World. I'm Claudio Klaus. In each episode, I talk with lawyers, law students, and professors from different parts of the world to talk about legal education, careers, and what the profession looks like in real life. We talk about the hard parts, the surprises, and the decisions that shaped their paths. Whether you're planning to study abroad, thinking about working in another legal system, or just curious about how law works around the world, this podcast is for you. This episode is sponsored by Contender. How are you doing on LinkedIn? If you're like 99% of lawyers, your answer is not great, which makes sense. You learned LinkedIn as the place to stash a digital resume and share firm pressers. So no wonder your LinkedIn presence is somewhere between vanilla and non-existent. But I've got good news. Since we all learned LinkedIn the wrong way, it's pretty easy to attract more positive attention for you or your business. Since 2022, Contender has been the premier agency helping lawyers go from invisible to impossible to ignore on LinkedIn. To learn more, check out www.contenderllc.com. Tell them Claudio sent you. Today, I have the opportunity to receive Brian Potts on the podcast. He's a partner at a big law firm and will talk with us today about mentoring, about his experience in law tech, and also about his social media presence, especially on LinkedIn, and about a special project called Legal Mentor Network. Thank you so much for joining us today, Brian.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
I really appreciate it. And to start off this episode, I'd love to ask you if you could tell us a little bit about yourself, tell our audience about who you are.
Oh, okay, great. Well, I'm a lawyer. I'm a partner at a large U.S. law firm called Hush Blackwell. It's about 1,100 lawyers. But what I really love to do is help people. And so I've sort of made a name for myself in the mentoring category. And frankly, in a lot of other areas, I've started a lot of companies now. I've just sort of leaned in to a lot of different things, and it's almost all come from helping random people for free and not asking anything from them. And so it's been a bit of a interesting endeavor since I started. And honestly, it kind of started with a legal mentor network, but the 5 years since that has blown up have just been incredible.
That's amazing. Yeah, as I was looking over information about you and your profile preparing for this interview, I saw you've built quite the impressive range of projects across law, business, tech. And if I may ask, what would you say was the moment that really shaped that path for you as a builder?
Yeah, so I used to write a lot of articles because I thought I wanted to be a law professor because they have the best job. They work 9 months a year and make good six figures. But in 2017, I kind of took time to reflect on the like 100 articles I'd written and how much time I'd spent basically giving my ideas away. And I thought, wait, there must be a more productive use of my, time. And I was like, I saw somebody go through an incubator with their startup, a woman I knew, and I was like, that's the coolest thing I've ever seen. I'm a litigator. I didn't even know this existed really. I'd heard of startups, so in 2017, I started starting companies, and then I ended up starting the Legal Mentor Network. And since then, I've co-founded 5 different companies and been continued to be a very productive partner at AmLaw 100 law firm. So it's been incredible. And I got to build the Legal Mentor Network, which has just been the gift that keeps on giving.
That's amazing. And talking about the Legal Mentor Network, I saw that one of your biggest posts that really made you LinkedIn famous, so to say, was when you put up some information about a rejection that you received early on in your career. So, what helped you to, keep going on after that first experience?
Yeah, so back in 2002, I was in law school. I was a 2L, and I applied to every one of the top 100 law firms in multiple offices, and I got form rejection letters from all 100. Like one sentence, thank you for your interest, but all the positions are filled. And I threw them all in a box, and about almost 20 years later, in 2020, 18 years later, I found them, and I thought it would be funny to frame the one from my then current law firm where I was an equity partner and put it on my wall in my office. So I framed it and I came in and it was like a Tuesday during COVID. And I had some pretty good social media experience, but not really on LinkedIn. I hadn't really done anything on LinkedIn. And I made this LinkedIn post where I took a picture of my rejection letter from my law firm from 2002. And I was in the heading of my obviously bio on LinkedIn. I was a partner at that law firm now. And I said, law students, if at first you don't succeed, try again. And 5 million people saw it. And that post is what led to directly to the Legal Mentor Network now, which has ended up with over 5,000 law students and young lawyers from around the world, a lot of LLM students getting free mentorship from lawyers like me, all through an online portal. And just this year, we've had 22 events in 12 different cities around the US, just bringing together lawyers and law students and encouraging them to mentor each other. So it's been just an incredible ride. And one of the things that I've learned from it, as I said before, is just help people for no reason, no intention of getting anything from them, and watch what happens. It'll take a while and you don't expect anything and you don't know what it's going to be, but good things will happen.
That's amazing. I love that. And a lot of the audience are really like either law students or people in the early years of their career. So that kind of advice is just key. Thank you so much for sharing that. And if I may go on in the Legal Mentor Network, I must mention to the audience and all that I'm a member myself. And just like Brian has said, people all over the world are in it. So I'm currently in Toronto. I was first trained in Brazil and I got to connect with a lot of lawyers here in Toronto. So it's not a US only network, but it's really everywhere. It was just incredible to get some connections there because really are people who are willing to connect with you. So not no kind of cold calling somebody or going on LinkedIn talking to somebody who might not be interested in chatting. But in the other way, in the Legal Mentor Network, are people who actually said they are willing to give up their time and chat with you.
And it's a lot of impressive people. That's the cool thing is it's not just if you go on the website and you look at some of the mentors, and I always recommend if you go sign up on the website to actually email the mentors at their work email address because lawyers aren't good at tech and checking another portal message is just not likely. But yeah, there are like 800 at every big company, every big law firm, small law firms, all different kinds of practice areas, government, NGOs. It's turns out there are a lot of lawyers out there who are willing to help other younger lawyers, and I just happened to stumble upon them on LinkedIn.
That's amazing. And you made an incredible bridge for all of them that way. I guess I could say that like mentorship really is at the heart of your story and what you do, at least in this project. But I'd love to hear a little more about your thoughts on what good mentorship looks like and what kind that you will make sure that your young associates have in that context.
Yeah, I mean, mentorship can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. Really, I try not to sort of pigeonhole anyone into a specific do this or do that with mentoring. I think really it's all about the relationships and just being able as a young attorney or law student to have an actual real relationship with a lawyer who isn't your boss necessarily or has no specific oversight of you, who's there to help you. And that's it. I mean, honestly, a lot of times, one of the funniest things that happens, and is almost always, this happens so regularly, it's funny that every lawyer who's been out somewhere between 5 and 15 years, I say, you should sign up to be a mentor. And they say, I'm not qualified to do that. And I literally laugh at them because I've talked to so many law students, and most of the time, what they're asking is pretty basic stuff, and they just need to, someone to listen and someone to help them, guide them on their way. And so, but, you have for so long when you're a young lawyer been the one who can't help anybody and needs help from other people. And so getting people to switch that mindset is has been challenging, but just know if you're thinking to yourself now, I couldn't be a mentor, that's not right.
I love that. For one thing, if you think about it, like law students could already help out people who are trying to get into law school. Or, there's always somebody who is one step behind you in a way, looking into that same profession or that same path. There's always something to share. So I really like that encouragement.
Yeah. You can't lose when you help other people.
That's great. That's great. Continuing on here, Brian, what are some of your thoughts on, top recommendations for law students listening to today's podcast and young associates as well? So we already talked about the importance of, giving back and staying connected, talking to people. What are some other things that you would say maybe to your younger self or things that even you did in your career early on that you think really set you up for success?
Yeah, I mean, what I recommend is a pretty rigid, not rigid, but pretty specific uh, uh, program, basically, when you're looking for a job as a young lawyer. And it's based on two facts that most people don't understand. The first one is that you're going to be most able to get the job you want in the city you want 3 to 5 years after you graduate, not right when you graduate. And then the other one is that 75 to 80% of the jobs that you're going to get in your life are going to come from people you know or have met, not randomly applying online. And so when you put these two things together, the strategy is pretty clear. And that is you should not just try to get the job you want coming out of law school. You should think about what other jobs could I get that would give me training for the job I want or whatever. And one other, so what I recommend is that you pick 5 cities where you're willing to live for 2 years, not your whole life. And literally, your job is to get on as many Zooms as you can with lawyers in those cities who do what you do. That's it. Not necessarily people that can hire you. In fact, it's better to try to talk to people who you don't think can hire you because they will be the ones that refer you to somebody else who can. They will be the ones whose circumstances change and will end up hiring you later. But if you're methodical about it and you think about and use geography to your advantage, notice you're in Toronto, you're not in New York. You're not in LA. I often tell people when you're picking your 5 cities, make sure 3 of them are not New York, DC, LA, and Chicago, because 70% of all law students who are graduating from law school want to go to New York, DC, LA, Chicago. And so obviously the pile of resumes in those places is going to be a lot higher. So that doesn't mean you shouldn't try to go to one of those cities. It just means maybe you should have some safety cities, like you have safety schools, and you should think about the law schools that are around those cities because lawyers are still regional. And so, for example, I hope nobody's from Florida listening to this, but the state of Florida has 12 law schools, and the highest ranked is University of Florida. So if you're applying to the same big law firm that has an office in Boston, New York, or Tampa, which one do you think you're going to get more interest from? It's this Tampa office. And so you can use geography to your advantage. And if you're methodical about trying to meet with people, and generally to do that sounds hard. How do I meet with all these lawyers? And the answer is easy. You spam them and you ask for advice, not a job. Don't use the word job or say anything about a job until you get on a Zoom. Ask for advice, 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 and just keep doing it and it will work. It might take you hundreds of Zooms, but I'm telling you, it will work.
That's incredible. And as I was thinking here, this very much applies to those people wanting a job in the legal field. But then once you enter into the job market, you're in a firm, it feels like that doesn't change much because you're talking to the other lawyers, you're talking to the clients.
Yeah, and that's why you become, well, it shouldn't change, but it often does because what happens is the people get hired, they go to a law firm, and then they think their only job is to make sure that the law firm partners are happy, which is their main job. But they forget that this is a relationship game. This entire industry and almost every industry is about relationships ultimately. And if you're in your office for 10 years as an associate, billing hours and not talking to anyone except the partners you work for, it's going to be really hard when you have to transition to go find work. So keep talking to people, keep meeting lawyers or professionals, just get known, be nice to people, help them, and good things will happen. It's counterintuitive and hard for some people to believe, but it's true.
Fantastic. To wrap up today's episode here, if I could ask you as well as to your own journey when you were looking into different places and all of that. You said that usually some of the jobs you have in your career will come through those connections. Was that some of your experience as well? Did you end up going?
The only job I could get out of law school was at a law firm where I knew someone. And then after that, I did get a job randomly spamming people in a city and meeting with people. And then my third job, a recruiter called me when I was in that 3 to 5 year window. And that's how I ended up at Foley and Lardner, where I made partner. And then now I've been a big law partner since. So it happened to me, but it turns out it actually is a pretty good strategy to get where you want to go in your career in the legal field. I didn't know it at the time, but it certainly has been helpful to me.
Incredible. I'm sure it will be helpful to anybody who really tries it out. And I appreciate you taking the time to chat with us today, Brian. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. And if anybody wants a free copy of my book, I gave it away in a LinkedIn post, and it tells you which states have law schools that aren't very highly ranked. There's all kinds of stuff in there that's useful. I've got spam emails that you can use to get people to meet with you. So, anyway, that's free. The price is right. So, everybody should look at that. And I know you probably have a lot of international students, and there's 2 chapters in that book dealing with just the question of A, should you get an LLM? And B, if you are, how can you leverage that into a job in the US? So that hopefully be helpful for some of your listeners.
Absolutely. That's awesome. So if you're listening in, make sure that you go follow Brian on LinkedIn and all social media and also sign up to the Legal Mentor Network.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Well, thank you. And thank you all for tuning into today's episode, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode. This episode was sponsored by Contender. Check them out at contenderllc.com.